My name is Hayden Becker and welcome back to Hayden Cinema. And today we're going to be talking about the movie Companion. So I just watched Companion for the first time. It came out this year, I think in January, February maybe. Now before I get into my thoughts on Companion, I want you to know that this is a spoiler-free review. Towards the end of the video, once all of my spoiler-free thoughts are done, and we'll give my overall rating of the film, but there are some spoiler things that I do want to dive into. I will definitely let you know when that happens. Again, it'll be completely all the way at the end of the video. I will make it very clear. So here's your first warning, spoilers in the end, and I will put big bold letters and will verbally announce when the spoilers come. So basically the setup of this film is the companionship between our main two characters here, Josh, played by Jack Quaid, and Iris, played by Sophie Thatcher, and the twists and turns that may or may not come within their relationship. So my expectations going into this was, I heard it was really funny, I heard that it was pretty gory, and everyone was hyping this up to be the first great horror film to come out of 2025. So that is what I was expecting walking into this. Now, did it meet those expectations? Was it hilarious? Was it not so funny? Was it gory? Was it not so gory? Did it meet those expectations or did it not? Let's get into it. First things first, I want to say thank you, honestly, to Drew Hancock, who is the writer and director of this film. As far as his direction goes, there is great meticulous shots and it feels very personal and very intimate. The film is about a companionship. It's about relationships and trust and love within one of another. And so those shots feeling very up close and intimate at certain times plays along with the theme of the film. Also, I really think that the film has a really good set design, and the fact that it was shot on location. It is filmed in a couple different locations, but they're really beautiful sights, and I can always appreciate on-site and film locations. Again, really beautiful scenery. The background is just compelling altogether. Also, the editing and the sound design. The editing itself, as far as the filmmaking process goes, is my second favorite, and I think is done the second best. The way the shots are cut up and put together, I sound really ignorant talking about this. I'm very new at editing, and I have a very newfound appreciation and love for it, and it's something that I've been trying to pay way more attention to. The way that the shots are put together and just cut, and you have really well transitions that tell a story within themselves. It really helps with the pacing of the film and makes the time go by like immediately. I don't think I felt a moment in this entire movie. There's so many taxing films nowadays. Almost every other movie that I watch is just like 2+ hours long, and they're all so taxing. Like, you have like the Avenger movies, or for some people the Star Wars, or for some people the Potter series. Those aren't as taxing because they're fun from start to finish. But when it comes to these other films, they're way unnecessarily 2+ hours long. That gets old really quick, and last year was a drag. You look in the movies now, you might have 1-2 hour plus film every other week, but for the most part, a lot of them are actually under 90 minutes, and that's really awesome to see nowadays. As far as this film individually goes, again, the pacing is very well, and me personally, I didn't feel a moment of it. So the story itself is this couple, Iris and Josh, who go on a trip to Josh's friend's house, and it's just a planned vacation. In the movie that they specify has been planned for months, and Iris is worried about making a fool of herself or saying something stupid, making his friends upset. That in and of itself is a very relatable thing, that when you have a partner and you go to meet their friends or their parents or their siblings, their family, whatever it is, you don't want to embarrass yourself, let alone embarrass your partner in front of them. And you want to make a really great first impression, especially how it's handled as a really quirky and fun idea that they explore. But the situation that this couple makes for a very entertaining and fun to watch situation, and there are some very vile things. There's some really good gore here, but it's like a roller coaster of emotions. You end up caring and investing yourself so much into these characters that it actually succeeds in carrying you through this roller coaster as well. As I mentioned earlier, with the investments, our character Iris is a very well developed character throughout this movie, and you immediately care for her. You love who she is as a person. You can see the good intention she has, and you can see that the love that she has for Josh is very strong and damn near unbreakable. It's pretty unconditional as well. The things that that their relationship is put to the test for, and things that it's hinted at for their past, you can see she's put up with a lot, and she still loves him. No matter what, she still loves him. Even in the end of the film, that love is still there. Josh as well is also very charming. He's also relatable in a lot of ways. You grow to see the ego in him and the insecurities that are eventually going to be the fall. I'm trying not to spoil here. It's really hard to talk about that per se, but his character is developed in a specific way, but it still works. Now, as I mentioned, there are twists and turns in this film, and the marketing and the trailers spoil it. But to me, it's not really even a spoiler. It's kind of like the Abigail situation where whether you know or not, she's a vampire in the film. To me, that actually heightens the enjoyment and ensues the hilarity of the characters pointing fingers at each other and figuring out that she's a vampire later in the film. It's kind of the same situation here, but I'm not going to say anything specific yet. But there's something genius in Drew Hancock's writing of the movie, that he's dropping subtle hints of the twists and the reveals that are later to come. Now, there is one big twist in here that I didn't see coming, but I've heard others did see coming, and it's not even in the marketing. Well, the marketing I saw anyway. But again, in his directing and in his writing, there are very subtle but also blatant in your face hints of what's bound to happen, what's going to happen, what they're setting up, and I think he sets it up pretty freaking great. The quirky humor in the dialogue actually works. To me, that's very touch and go and hit or miss. This one, it hits pretty well, and it makes for some serious, really good laughs. There's some really great situational humor in here. But overall, as far as the humor goes, my expectations of it walking into it actually landed pretty well, and I was pretty surprised. A lot of times, movies like this get way overhyped, and they don't hold up to expectations at all, and this one, as far as the humor go, actually did. Also, there seems to be a theme with this year of 2025 with films having multiple genres in them, like Hard Eyes was a comedy, spoof, slasher, whatever. It was a rom-com. It was a whole lot stuffed in that one. And you've probably heard the word identity crisis with films, especially with this year alone. This one has the same thing, but it's not a problem. This one actually works. It is a horror film. It is a romance comedy. There is a little bit of action in it. Not intense, but there's a little. There's slasher elements. Possessive, but not in a demonic way, elements as far as subgenres and horror go. But there's a lot in here, and it works. Multiple moments where it could have went south fast. The humor doesn't overstay its welcome. They do give the film a time to breathe. They give the characters time to breathe, and you have moments where you marinate in the situation instead of when it's supposed to be tense, they break it up with humor, or when you're supposed to feel the emotional beat, they chop it up with humor, or when it's supposed to be funny, they don't drag it all the way down with sadness or anything. So it's very well balanced. Also, the kills in this are very effective. They're pretty gruesome as well. If you've seen any Terrifier film in a violent nature, or if you grew up watching most of the crazy B-movie slashers, you've definitely seen worse. But this one actually does have some really good kills in it, and again, they are effective. One of them's a jaw dropper, not in the sense of the goriness per se, it's the situation. If you've watched my videos, you know that this is a huge nitpick of mine. And this film actually does it very well, where it's a really good mix of practical and CGI. I've stated it a million times. CGI is supposed to make movie magic. It's supposed to enhance the experience, not take you out of it. It's supposed to be in the darkness. You can cheat a little bit, that's fine. And honestly, some CGI I can get past. The big one for me is blood. Blood in like creatures, especially if it's so focused on it. I can't stand it. So overall, I thought that this was a really well put together movie. I thought that the writing was pretty brilliant, and I was really surprised about the outcome. I really enjoyed it. I watched this with my girlfriend who isn't into many horror films at all. It met most of my expectations, and I thought it was a really fun watch. And I didn't feel a beat. I mean, it flew by, and honestly, it's one of those I kind of wish there was more, but in a good way. Not in that it didn't give enough, it gave plenty. So I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 5. Now, I don't hand out 4s and 5s often at all, and to me, I was kind of going into this expecting maybe a 3.5, but it surprised me, and those surprises really work, and the rewatchability of this film is pretty high as well. Now jumping into my spoiler thoughts here. Spoilers. Touching back on a couple of things that I want to talk about. In the writing, there's subtle hints about her being a robot. Now, I went into this knowing she was, but the film actually made me kind of doubt it for a second. But the hints in the writing of her name, let's start with that. He calls her Beep Boop. That's his little nicknames, like baby, honey, sweetie, whatever. His for her is Beep Boop. And I thought that that was really clever. And then they had this little trick in there where he's like, Wait a minute, pause. I know I've rubbed my nose a lot in this video. I promise you, I do not do cocaine. I just really like the smell of it. No, but seriously, I just have allergies really bad, so I'm really sorry. I've tried to edit a lot of it out, and I just can't at this point. I hope it don't bother you too much. Just a PSA. Before it's revealed she's a sex robot, you know, he's asking her, hey, what's the weather? And she just stops what she's saying, she gives it out in a very Siri tone. Ironically, her name is Iris Siri backwards. I've seen that. Also, there's a moment where they're in the car going to his friend's house, and the screen had been cut to black, and he's like, Iris, wake up. For a second, especially if you don't know that she's a robot, you're sitting there thinking, you don't think nothing about it really, just because, you know, he's in the car with her, she's asleep, hey, wake up. And then it's like, there's a moment where they have intercourse, and they're laying in bed, and she's sitting there telling him how much she loves him and everything. He's like, Iris, go to sleep. And then it cuts to black. That's really very meticulous in the writing. And if you don't know what you're looking for, and you don't know that she's a robot, that's a really cool thing to catch after you find out. But if you do know, and especially if you're watching it with someone who doesn't, it's nice to pick up on those things and look over to them like, you have no idea, do you? There's moments where they go back to like the meet cute scenario where Josh picks his meet cute scenario for her to think that that's when they met. Like in the beginning, it opens up and she finds him in a store. That's the meet cute that he chose for her to remember. Also, again with the names and him picking her name, when he's telling her that she's a robot because she doesn't know, it cuts back to whenever he actually got the doll, and the people who are delivering it knock on the door, and he opens the door, and the song Iris is playing in the background. And then I read somewhere that his mother in the situation, or in the film, it's either his mother in real life or the mother in the movie. I don't know. I really didn't see that part, or I didn't catch if she was in the background. I didn't catch it. But someone said that it's the girl from City of Angels that the song Iris was actually written for. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I wanted to touch on Iris as a character. She's believed that she's met the man of her dreams. She has memories that he's implanted in her, but her are very real. Like there's a moment where there's another robot telling his boyfriend that, hey, I know I'm a robot. And then they're like, but you can't lie. So why do you pretend? Why do you lie about, you meeting me? And he was like, well, it may not be reality, but it's my reality. Like that is my truth. And that's how I remember it. That's how I know you. Along with Iris, that when she finds out she's a robot, that is her truth. She did meet him in the grocery store. She is in love with him. And so when it comes down to it, and he literally shatters her reality that, hey, you're not even real. It's not that, hey, I'm not real. This isn't real. You're dreaming. No, it's you aren't real. Everything you know, everything you love, everything you think you feel doesn't exist. Everything that makes you who you are doesn't actually exist. It's all the program that I've programmed into you. And then her overcoming that, stepping up, crashing Josh's plan here, and it becomes like a cat and mouse game with him. And she's constantly outsmarting him. And you're thinking, well, she's a robot, so obviously she would. No, it shows you in different ways through dialogue and through the direction that Josh's character is very insecure and cannot be alone and constantly needs pick-me-ups and that confirmation that he's good, that he's okay, that he's this, that he's that. And he needs it so bad, but he also needs that control, and he needs to feel superior, that he has Iris's intelligence dumbed down to like 40. And then when she finds that out, she's like, yeah, right. And she turns it up to 100, and it becomes like a, not as intense or as explored, but it becomes kind of like that Lucy situation where she has 100% control of herself. Going through those scenarios, I thought that was really good character building and character development for our main character here, Iris. But that's going to be it for my video. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. Did you see it? Did you really enjoy it? Hopefully, if you haven't seen it and you made it to the end of this video, I'm sorry. I gave you warnings. If you have seen it, let's talk about it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed watching this just as much as I enjoyed making it for you. You can follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. Come join the conversation. We talk movies and TV shows all the time over there, and we have lots of fun. So come do that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.